Part 2.
Talking about wood stoves again.
So after our first video on the wood stove went on, we had some responses from some people that we know personally, plus some social media responses, people asking questions, and it just got us thinking about questions that people had asked in the past. Anyway, so just going to answer some of those questions, I guess, about our wood stoves, both the cook stove and the heat stove, and try to go over some things. Stoves are off again today for cleaning, so we'll run through that as well. So if you have a cook stove, a new cook stove, one of the questions that we've seen a lot and people have asked us when they've gotten their new cook stoves, do they need to season the top? They'll notice, you know, it's raw metal on the top, and it'll rust up a little bit from just surface rust. It's just surface rust being exposed to the oxygen and the moisture content in the air of the house. Do they need to season it, they wonder. And so, you know, like cast iron, you'd put oil on your new cast iron pans. No, you don't need to do that to your cook stove. The reason you do that to a cast iron pan is you're trying to basically make it non-stick. You're trying to have an oily surface. You don't want that on a wood stove. You can do that. It's not going to necessarily hurt anything. If you put it on too thick, it's going to be sticky and gummy. It'll burn off whenever you're running your stove. That's going to all burn off. It's not really something that you need to worry about. If you want your stove to look new and bright and all that, they make different cleaners that you can get at any stove supply place. Look on the internet. There's really not much maintenance to it at all. On the top, you just take a dry cloth and just wipe it, and that's really all the maintenance it needs. If you're cooking on your wood-burning cook stove, it's going to end up getting a patina just like this anyways. There's all these little splats of grease and whatever that comes, you know, as you're cooking. And, you know, you can see here and there. And some of that, you know, you can clean that up, no big deal. But we don't really worry about it because we actually use it. And it gives a sort of patina and protection to it so that it stops rusting up, actually. So while you don't need to put oil on your stove to season it, at the same time, if you are cooking on it and using it for cooking, you will end up doing some of that anyways naturally. So I don't think it's necessary, and most people who use them regularly don't think it's necessary either, at least not that I've heard. There might be some that do it. But basically, when the stove's not in use, it may rust up a little bit on the surface. Just a dry cloth, wipe it with a dry cloth, all that comes off. It's not going to rust up and like degrade or ruin your stove. So what's a cook stove made out of, and how much does it weigh? That might vary. This is a Stanley, a Waterford Stanley cook stove, and it is made out of cast iron. The whole thing's cast iron. There isn't even fire brick in it. There is a second row of shielding of cast iron. I'll show you that in a minute. So the whole thing's cast iron, and it weighs about 800 pounds. So this is not a light unit at all. And no wood cook stove is light. They're all very heavy. So time comes to clean the stove. What do you do? How do you do that? Well, we have a little funny looking tool for ours. And these are access doors. A lot of people think these little things are burners. They're not. They're just access doors. The reason why they're round is because a circle doesn't fit inside of a circle. If they were square, you could turn it a certain way and they'd fall down in there. So the only reason they're round is so they don't fall down inside. So you take those off and you set them over somewhere. Even this door comes out. And I just want to show you how thick that is. That's cast iron. And that's how thick the doors are. For some reason, the center one on this thing doesn't work. You just have to go like that to get it and set it over on the side. All right, so there's 2 dampers in this stove. They come out too, but I'm just going to show you since everything's open. Here's the chimney here, and the way it works, if you're just cooking and you just want to keep the heat over here, you're just using the stove top, not going to use this side, you would take your tool, and this damper, there's a damper back here, you can see it coming out, that would open this way, and this one would go this way, and that makes the smoke, for the most part, it'll hit this and go up the chimney. This little access door even comes off for cleaning, but the smoke would go up the chimney. It would go under here and up through. Then if you're going to be running the oven, you would shut this door in the back, and that closes off this chimney. And then you would open this one and turn it this way. And what that does, that allows the smoke from the firebox to go across underneath your top, and then it forces it to fill under here, but it has to go down the side. Okay, so when it's set up this way, that smoke comes underneath. Here, can we shine a light down here for them? And it would run underneath the top and is forced to go down this space on the side. It then goes underneath the oven, and then there's another hole where it comes up into the chimney underneath. So once again, this damper opens and closes for the chimney, and this cuts off the rest. So smoke would go up, or if you want to heat the oven, you go this way, and this is the oven right under here, and the smoke would go underneath, go down, come up under the oven, and go back up from another hole that also accesses this chimney down below the oven. So for cleaning, these come out as well. This one also comes out. It is a pain. It's not really necessary to take it out. I actually never do, but supposedly it comes out somehow. You can actually access the whole thing and clean it right here. Okay, now we're looking down inside the firebox. You can see there's a grate down in there. As the wood breaks down, the ash falls down through the grate. Most of it does. There's no fire brick in this stove. There's a second jacket of cast iron, and these actually lift out, and you can lift them out for cleaning. I don't do that very often. That's maybe like a once a year thing. All right, time to do a little bit of cleaning. So basically, we have another tool. It's a scraper tool, like a T-shaped thing. And I use that for most things. I start in the firebox and you scrape. You also need to scrape up here and knock this stuff off. You get a lot, most of your gunk is on the bottom of the top. And so you need to get in there and scrape it off. Not sure how well you can see all this grime that's coming off. That's on the bottom of the top. And basically, how to get it out of there, you can scrape it back into the firebox, or you can push it down that space over there by the oven, where the smoke would go around the oven. You push it over that, and it falls down underneath, and I'll show you how we get that out. Okay, so we scraped all that stuff. It fell underneath. We pushed it over here. It dropped down. And now, on this stove at least, we open the oven door. And then there's this little tiny access door here for clean out. We take that off. Then we take our T-shaped scraper and we go in there and we just scrape everything forward toward our little hole here. Alright, you always want to have a bucket ready or whatever you're using. For the purpose of this video, I'm just scraping a little bit. I'm not doing a very thorough job. and I don't want to bore you with the details, just show you basically what you do. But you would go underneath the oven all over, scraping to bring it out this hole and put it into your bucket. When you're all done, you just put your little door back on. We have these little brackets on the back, and there's something magnetic on here that also helps hold it on. So it's important to have a metal bucket when you're cleaning a wood stove, any kind of wood stove. Even if you've let the stove go out and it's been a day or so, there is still probably hot ash in there. So it's always a good idea to have a metal bucket. Metal buckets and all that cleanup stuff is available most likely anywhere that you're going to be buying your stove. If you're buying from a stove retailer, that is. If you're buying them used somewhere, find a stove retailer or a fireplace place, and they're bound to have exactly what you need. All right, now to clean out the firebox. It's just a simple matter of just scraping the sides a little bit. There's not a lot of buildup in there. Then you open your clean out, and I hadn't mentioned before, this just spins to open a gap here to let more air in. That air goes into the firebox. That's how you help the fire die down or help it flare up, whatever you want to do there. But yeah, you open this up then, and once everything's scraped down, we have a drawer that we can pull out. And like I say, I didn't do very much, but dump it gently into your bucket. And I say gently because wood ash, if you just dump it real hard, it'll poof and go all over in the air and get everywhere. If you dump it very gently, you dump your wood ash very gently, it doesn't do that. So when you are cooking on a wood stove, your heat starts to die down or whatever, if you just open this firebox and load up the stove with a bunch of wood, you're going to bog down your fire, and it's going to take a little bit to heat back up. If your fire is going and starts to die down, the thing to do is to just open the door, add just a little bit of wood, and then once that's going, open the door and add a little bit more in order to help maintain a more consistent heat. All right, time to put the stove back together, put the baffle back in, or damper, whatever. All these things there's a little tab here. You can't put this on wrong. If you do, it sticks up. It totally sticks up. It's not flat. You gotta get that tab in the right place. And this, put back, it slides back in, just drops in. And the weight of this thing and this gasket in here make the airtight seal. These little doors just go right back on, just like that. Now we want to clean the top. Okay, as far as cleaning the top, you just need a dry rag. I'm using a paper towel. Basically, you just rub the top and everything kind of rubs off, becomes fairly consistent. And they make products, Stove Bright, and I don't know what all. There's all kinds of products available that if you really want to clean it up, and maybe at the end of the season that makes sense to do that. But if you're using it throughout the season, there's not a lot that you really want to do to it, because if you're cooking on it, you're constantly going to be using it. All right, there we go. Stove's all clean. Is it messy to do? Yeah, it can be. You just want to be careful. If you get it in your clothes, the stuff just about doesn't come out. It's always a messy job, so I just want to show you the basics of how you would do it on our stove at least. But most cook stoves are built the same, so for the most part, these same steps would be followed. Yeah, no matter how careful you are, you always get a little bit on the floor. All right, one thing we've noticed, don't get water on that stuff if you make a mess. It just spreads it around and makes it even worse. Keep it dry and it cleans up easy. So now we're gonna go talk about the heat stove and how we would clean that. All right, with the heat stove, it's actually easier to clean out. There's just one firebox. There's nothing to get underneath. And with this one, there's a little trap door, levers here, and we just pull everything toward the hole when we hold this open, and it falls down into a drawer. Not sure how well you can see that hole there, but there's a little trap door right there. You can kind of shake the ash down into the drawer below. But I would proceed to do that, pull all this forward and do that. And every once in a while you have to check that your drawer doesn't get too full. And all the ash is contained in the drawer. And if it's hot, just put that over there. There's another handle in the back as well. Carry it outside and dump it somewhere safe. Not every wood stove has a little trap door like that or a drawer underneath to catch your ash. So when you're shopping for a stove, if that's a feature you want, you just gotta look for it. If you don't have that, another option would be take your little cleaning shovel, and mine looks fairly new because I don't actually use it because we have that little trap door. And so you take that and you'd scoop it out and put it into a metal bucket. Like I say, when you do that, watch when, don't just, dump it real quick, because as the ash falls, it kind of poofs up in the air, makes a mess. If you dump it very gently, very slowly, it does that a lot less or not at all. If it's slow enough, you just have to be careful, because wood ash is messy. So if you're careful with it, you don't make a mess. And there's always a little bit of something, but you can minimize that greatly by being careful. So why aren't my wife and daughter in this video? Apparently cleaning the stoves is my job. Who decides this stuff anyway? All right, now we're outside because we're going to talk about chimney cleaning. I clean my own chimneys. I don't think it's hard. I have the double wall stainless steel chimney. That's the way to go. If you have something else, whatever, you might want to look into other information on that. But basically, they sell these cleaning rods, and they just screw together. And essentially, all that's really involved is I go up on my roof and I take the chimney cap off and I put my brush together. You get a brush, and they have a certain diameter. They fit your stovepipe, so you got to get the right one from a fireplace dealer or stove dealer or whatever, and you just screw that on there. And if your cap is removed, you just screw it on. I don't make them super tight, but I make them tight enough. And you gotta watch that you don't unscrew the thing. If you turn it this way, if I go this way, it's gonna get tighter. If I go this way, I could unscrew this thing down inside my chimney, and you don't want to do that. So that's probably the most important thing. But you stick that down the chimney till you get to this end, and then you take another rod, put that on, and you just push it down. And once you're down, I push it all the way down till I can feel that I've hit something. I'm down inside the stove. And then I pull it back up, and then I go down one more time and pull it back up one more time. So if I go down, up, and that's it. That's all I do. I try not to turn it when it's in there, but if I feel I'm stuck, I have to remember I can turn this way, but I can't turn this way. If you turn the other way, you'll unscrew. You could unscrew these down inside your chimney, and I've known people who've done that before. They've unscrewed these in their chimney, they've had them stuck, and it's a bear to get them out. So we're not telling anybody to clean their own chimney. We're not telling anybody to go on a roof or do anything like that. That's what I do, and that's how I do it. So that's what I do. That's up to you what you do. One thing that is important, if you are cleaning your own chimney, you're pushing all this stuff down into your stove. In a heat stove, there's usually baffles in the I guess, ceiling of the firebox. You need to take those out and reach up in there and brush that stuff down into the firebox, and then you'd clean it out. However, in our case, we have the hole with the drawer. We just sweep it in there and just remove it like any other ash. In the cook stove, it would end up on top of the oven, and you just push it down over the side of the oven and pull it out just like, you know, the rest of it. So it's part of the whole process. When I'm cleaning a chimney, I would do that first, and then I would clean the rest of the stove. As far as cleaning the chimney goes, that's something that I would do once a year, sometimes twice if the stove seems to be bogging down. But really, if your wood is good and dry and seasoned, once a year seems to be fine for me. I'm not going on any roofs today, but you can see the type of chimneys that we have right there. Stainless steel, double wall pipe. Well, if you've enjoyed this video and find it helpful, please share it with your friends.
Please like and subscribe.
And hit that notification bell if you'd like to receive notifications the next time we upload a video. Thank you.
See you on the next one.
Now that we're done making the video, we got to clean this stuff for real. Are you ready?
Now.
Are you ready to cook Papa a nice apple pie?
Bean soup.